Hard work.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Since the very first day that I took office as mayor, I've been committed to reducing reckless driving, and I've directed city departments to work together, to work collaboratively in order to make streets safer in our city too. Today, we're focusing on engineering, part of a multi-pronged approach my administration has been using to address the issue of reckless driving. Engineering, education, and enforcement, they're all a part of the mix. Our citywide speeding, We Can Live Without a campaign is one of the big teaching tools that we have aimed at changing bad driving behavior. I'm here today to share some of the positive impacts of engineering, particularly with some of our recently completed traffic calming projects in neighborhoods all over the city. And speaking of all over the city, I want to thank as well Alderman Jonathan Brostoff from the 3rd Aldermanic District, who's joined us here today and has been a champion of making streets safer in neighborhoods all across Milwaukee, and particularly in his district on the east side. So my Department of Public Works has completed projects in all corners of the city using various forms of funding and collaboration, working together. But there's one big goal in mind. That's slowing speeds to make our streets safer for all users of the roadway. Over on Appleton Avenue, on the northwest side of the city, DPW worked in coordination with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, worked with residents and with businesses from the Alameda as well as Lenox Heights neighborhoods to implement a road diet, reducing the number of driving lanes from 4 down to 3. The project installed bump outs to improve visibility and refuge islands as well for individuals crossing the street. On this busy corridor, part of the high injury network, we reduced speeding by 23% over on Appleton Avenue. It gets better than that. On Humboldt Boulevard over in River West, we fully reconstructed the street from North Avenue over to Keith Avenue. In that, we installed medians and bump outs all throughout the corridor. These improvements reduce the numbers of drivers who are reckless in their motions behind the wheel by 19%. Wow. 19% to make the streets safer for all users of the roadway, especially people who are walking and people who are biking on that corridor. Another way we work to improve the quality of streets is through our high-impact paving program. These asphalt overlays are projects that are completed quickly and are very cost-effective as well. And DPW works to look at holistic improvements that can be made to the street while the pavement work is being done. One example of this is the work that's been done not terribly far from where we are now over on Highland Boulevard between Valete and 35th Street. On this corridor, we implemented a road diet, reducing travel lanes from 4 down to 2. We used the additional space on the street to install actual protected bike lanes and transit improvements in both directions of the road. This project resulted in an improved street, yes, with a reduction of 24% of drivers who were speeding. And it's also the first of a couple of segments in a longer corridor that'll provide continuous protected bikeways for people biking from the west side of the city downtown. On Locust Street, we aim to slow the speeds of people driving near Sherman Park by installing bump outs and installing traffic circles along the south side of Sherman Park itself. And it worked tremendously well. Before the project, 91% of people driving along that roadway were speeding. 91%. Like, that is insane, especially for folks living in Sherman Park and trying to get their kids, to the park, to the Boys and Girls Club, and the like. Now, after the improvements that we've undertaken, we're down to 5%. Only 5%, down from 91 to 5% of people driving that area who are speeding. So still work to do, but a tremendous improvement. This reduction makes the park a place where our kids can now go outside and play and have fun and go to the Boys and Girls Club and experience all the great things that are happening over at Sherman Park. And we've implemented similar projects in the southern part of the city too, on 43rd Street on the south side as well as Oklahoma Avenue. Both projects border county parks, and we use road diets to reduce travel lanes as well as slow speeds on those streets. We've got boards that are behind us now showing projects throughout the city that have reduced speeds, and I encourage each and every single one of you to take the opportunity to check those boards out after the event. We can also share the information with you over email too. But as incredible as the impacts of these projects are, as all of us know, speeding is still something that's very, very important for us to keep addressing here in Milwaukee. And it's a problem we will continue to put resources in order to address as we move forward. So to share more about the ways that we're engineering solutions to speeding and the issues around that in the City of Milwaukee, I'd like to now introduce the City of Milwaukee's City Engineer, Kevin Muse. All right. Kevin,
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, and thank you for your leadership on this issue, which has enabled and empowered DPW to be bold and aggressive in working to solve it. Again, as the mayor said, I'm Kevin Muse. I'm the city engineer for the City of Milwaukee. As the mayor just shared, the Department of Public Works is diligent in our efforts to decrease speeds and increase safety on our streets, and we actively look for opportunities for traffic calming in every project that we can. We have a bird's eye view of all the streets in the city and often hear from residents about problems on streets near their homes or near businesses that they are personally affected by every day. These requests have led us to reimagine our long-standing neighborhood traffic management program into our new and expanded community-led traffic calming program. The refined community-led traffic calming program that we are launching today is designed to empower those residents with the tools to implement traffic calming on neighborhood streets. It's an expansion of the neighborhood traffic management program, and this new program allows for the request of 7 traffic calming elements. Speed humps, which has been the traditional bread and butter of the neighborhood traffic management program, but also now speed tables, traffic circles, curb extensions, chicanes, neck downs, and pedestrian refuge islands. As the mayor mentioned, these measures are being used in DPW projects throughout the city, and this program gives residents and businesses the tools to assess and address traffic-related concerns on nearby streets using an expanded set of traffic calming measures. Measures installed to the community-led traffic calming program are partially paid for via cost share with property owners. To help residents and businesses understand how a traffic calming measure may or may not address a concern and build support for a project, DPW also offers a traffic calming lending library that provides materials for residents to temporarily try certain traffic calming measures before committing to paying for their construction. Both the community-led traffic calming program and the traffic calming lending library are expansions of previous DPW programs and are designed to provide concerned and engaged residents and businesses with the tools to take action to make their streets safer. Information on both programs can be found at milwaukee.gov/CLTC. We're very excited to see the results of some of our traffic calming projects that the mayor referenced and summarized, and expect to see similar improvements on other projects as we continue to make strides in building safer streets that better serve people walking, biking, taking transit, and driving. Later this year, projects on Van Buren Street, Howard Avenue, Hampton Avenue, and several others throughout the city will be complete, and we'll continue to collect speed data to analyze their effectiveness. I also wanted to highlight that speeding data is just one of the ways that we measure the impact of traffic calming projects across the city. Projects are often unique in terms of what's used and what issues we're trying to address. For example, on North Avenue, where we installed paint and post bump outs, we wanted to make it safer for people crossing the street in the uptown commercial corridor. There, we measured the impact by collecting data about how often drivers yielded to pedestrians trying to cross the street. We see that drivers are now almost 2.5 times more likely to yield to pedestrians across the street after our intervention. Another example of the different ways that we measure impacts and success with traffic calming projects is also the reason we're speaking here at this location, at the corner of Highland Boulevard and 27th Street, at the site of a recently completed traffic calming project that I'm standing on top of. The City of Milwaukee partnered with Luna, Near West Side Partners, and 16th Street Community Health Centers to install 2 street mural projects in newly closed right turn slip lanes, one at the intersection of Lapham Boulevard and Cesar Chavez Drive, and one at the intersection we're at here on Highland and 27th. These slip lane murals were supported by a grant from Bloomberg Philanthropies through their Asphalt Art Initiative. and we're proactively closing dangerous slip lanes like these throughout the city. This grant allowed us to, in addition to close the slip lane, beautify the street at the same time. Slip lanes like this allow for high-speed turning movements, which expose people trying to cross the street to greater speeds and more time exposed to motor vehicle traffic, which makes everything more dangerous. This simple closure can have a huge impact on pedestrian safety and improve neighborhood vitality. Right here on Highland Boulevard, the average speed of drivers turning right onto 27th Street decreased by 3 miles per hour after the slip lane was closed, a 14% decrease. And at the intersection of Cesar Chavez and Lapham, the crossing time for people walking across the street was reduced by 8 seconds and 26 feet after the slip lane was closed. Luna LLC's co-founder, Katie Avila Lochmiller, is here today to tell us more about this most recent slip lane mural project and process. Katie?
Thank you, Kevin and Mayor, and to all of you for coming out this afternoon to celebrate this project, but all the traffic calming projects that are happening across the city. This project in particular that you're standing on, and the one on Chavez and Lapham, brought together artists and community members, and it not only beautifies our streets, but makes them a little safer, which is very exciting. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Katie Avila Lochmiller, and I'm an artist, but also the creative director for Luna. If you're not familiar with Luna, we started as a collective in 2017 to ensure that Latinx artists were not ignored. Since then, we have grown into a business that supports all artists of color to diversify who gets opportunities. Thank you. The work you see here was designed by Phoenix S. Brown with the input of ideas from students just down the street at Milwaukee High School of the Arts. And what I'm calling its sister mural on Chavez and Lapham was designed by Irma Roman with the input from students from UMOS and Milwaukee Christian Center and Kosciuszko Community Center. It brings me a lot of excitement to say that these street murals are the largest that Phoenix and Irma have worked, and it's their very first murals. I also want to shout out the rest of the artist team who assisted in making these murals come to life. Nati Rodriguez, CJ Joseph, Yesenia Corona, and truly these murals would not be possible without many community volunteers who were secured by our incredible partners, 16th Street Community Health Center and Near West Side Partners. And I'd like to shout out specifically Anne-Marie Gunn, Barb Scotty, and Yessi Perez, who all worked tirelessly. Yes. They all worked tirelessly, but somehow always seem to have endless energy and positivity throughout the process. Without them, we wouldn't have had volunteers, lunch, snacks, and maybe most importantly, music while we were painting. As from like the many names and organizations that I've mentioned, it's clear that this project was a huge collaborative effort, but we really wouldn't be here today without DPW. And I want to shout out former senior transportation planner Kate Royden. I actually met Kate during a similar press event a few years ago when the city announced the pavement program. I, being the person I am, asked how the city was going to fund that program. And when she listened to my concerns and my questions, and instead of just saying, great, thanks for your comments, she did some research. And she was the one who found the Bloomberg Asphalt Grant Initiative and coordinated the team and applied for the grant. This allowed us to execute this project in a way that equitably paid all of the artists involved and ensure that their time and labor was adequately accounted for. I can't thank Kate enough for her leadership and work to make this happen, but I also want to thank Danya Littlefield, who took over managing this grant for DPW. When Kate moved on to a new opportunity, Danya had big shoes to fill, but she did so seamlessly. It's not often that you get to work on a project of this size that goes so smoothly, but we truly had a dream team that brought the community together and added 2 new beautiful works of art to our city. I hope this project can serve as a model for many more street murals, but also for other public art projects as well. Before I close, I do have an exciting announcement, and that is revealing that these murals actually have titles now. So the one on Chavez and Lapham that I hope you'll check out later today or later this week, that one by Irma Roman is entitled Regalos, meaning gifts. And this one right here on 27th and Highland by Phoenix S. Brown is entitled Resilient Play. Art does have the power to change our city, but we have to invest in it. Thanks to the grant dollars from Bloomberg Philanthropies and the hard work of so many, we have done this here. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over now to Sunny Singh, a business owner on Appleton Avenue, to talk about the positive impacts he's seen since the traffic safety improvement project was installed outside of his business.
Hi, my name is Sunny. I'm the owner of Steve's Liquor, located between Appleton and Burleigh, and Appleton and Lisbon. I just want to say thank you to the Mayor Johnson and DPW for taking the initiative of making our streets safer. And as a business owner, we don't like change, especially when it comes to traffic patterns changing. We're worried about our customers coming in and out. So when I saw these changes being implemented, I was very nervous. I contacted the previous Alderman Murphy, letting him know, hey, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? He told me to wait 6 months just to see what's going to happen, and I'm glad I waited those 6 months. That corridor from Burleigh and Appleton to Lisbon and Appleton was a very, very dangerous corridor. People going 60, 70 miles an hour, not caring about other people's safety. So since those measures have been in place, it has been very safe. I have not seen one accident. And again, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor Johnson and DPW, for making our streets safer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunny, Katie, Kevin, Alderman Brostoff, again, everybody that has been a part of making these investments come to fruition to improve traffic safety here in our city. It's important for our neighborhoods, it's important for our residents, it's important for our businesses, it's important for our city. And I'm so glad to be able to lead this administration with departments like DPW that are making such an incredible impact in neighborhoods across Milwaukee. And with that, we'll take a couple of questions. First, I know there are some questions on other things, but let's first stick to questions on this particular topic.
Mayor Johnson, yesterday I was driving on Pleasant near Fresh Time, and I saw 3 or 4 vehicles follow each other on the bump out little pegs. I think they were confused on that used to be open. Anything you can say to drivers? I almost feel like it's the roundabout situation where they don't know what they're doing when they see bump outs like this or the pegs. Anything you can say to them to not cause any accidents?
Yeah, sure. And I'll let the city engineer to opine on that as well. The first thing I'll say, simply put, I think, is that this is still really new. For us, we're making a lot of changes to the roadway here in Milwaukee, and some of that will take some time and some education. So I think that with hitting some of those flex posts, they'll understand, right, that that's not where cars go. That's supposed to be places where bikes can go, perhaps, or things like that. So it takes education. We'll continue to provide education as we continue to move forward. Kevin, you got anything you want to add on that?
Mayors did a great job of answering that. I'll just note that project is actually still actively under construction. So there's additional pieces that are going to be put in the road to try to make it clearer to everybody where they're supposed to be. And we're actually still making adjustments a little bit west there to the intersection of Pleasant and Commerce as well, which we think is leading to some of the confusion from drivers. So adaptation period for sure, and also some design changes we're planning to make before winter out there to improve the situation.
Great. Thank you.
You mentioned that this is a step in the right direction when it comes to engineering, specifically for reckless driving, which is still an issue here in Milwaukee. And just on Monday, a 38-year-old mother was killed in a hit and run due to high speeds. And her family said this in response to that, so I just want to read a quote. It says, "We want justice, and a cone-covered truck isn't enough. A photo op with Cavalier Johnson and a speech about his tries isn't enough. We want the thugs found, and we want the DA to hold them accountable for the theft of our life." What's your response to that?
My response to that is, certainly I give condolences to the family of the young lady who lost her life. That shouldn't happen. That's the whole reason why we're taking on, reckless driving in the ways that we're doing it. That's why I mentioned, in my remarks here, that it is in education, right? That's why we have Speeding We Can Live Without It. It is working to make sure that we have engineering, like we're talking about slowing speeds, and utilizing resources where we can in order to make those improvements, such as those stats that I just talked about, reducing speeds across the city. And enforcement is also a part of that. I happen to agree with the family. I want those individuals found as well. I want those individuals to be prosecuted as well. I've said consistently that since I've been mayor, that anybody who causes death or harm or destruction in this city should pay a price for that. So there's no daylight between what my thoughts are and what the family's thoughts are. But be that as it may, we still have to move forward. We still have to work to make sure that we're making the streets safer here on out. And while we've had improvements, and I applaud those improvements and want to have more improvements, there's still more work to do. And we'll continue to do that work through various means, whether that's through more enforcement, whether that's through more engineering like we're talking about, whether that's through more education, such as the items that you mentioned previously, or what we're here standing on right now. Thank you.
Do you know if there's more, like, really close down the road, some more slip lane murals going up elsewhere around the city than just the two? Or coming soon?
Yes, so more closures, and many of those are going to be the posts you can see here behind me and behind all of you, the white and green posts. That'll be our standard approach, along with some striping, where we can get the funds, where we can work with local artists to empower them to improve them like this. We'll be doing that as well. We don't have additional funding identified yet, but we're committed to trying to find that to help make this continue to happen. We've got some examples where we're doing full reconstruction and completely removing the slip lane and actually replacing it with a bioswale with green infrastructure that'll provide a little bit more native plantings and also manage stormwater on the city streets better. We're doing one of those right now on the southwest corner of Walnut and MLK. So it depends on the context, but we're working to close these as best we can.
Thank you. And just as another follow-up to that, to me, it's not an either or. It's a both and, right? So we've got to do all these things to address the issue of reckless driving. Yes, we've got to enforce, and I want the police to go out, and I know they're already out investigating and looking for those individuals. I want them to enforce, and I want those folks to be brought to justice. We also have to make sure that there is engineering that happens that stops people from driving recklessly in the first place. And if we can reach other folks with education or art, then we should do that too. We should do all the things that we possibly can in order to positively address the issue of reckless driving in Milwaukee, and that's exactly what we're doing. But let it not be confused that whether it's engineering or whether it's education, while I support those things, I also really, really support enforcement and holding people accountable too. I want that to happen.
One more question for you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Less than an hour ago, College Court residents announced that they're suing Hackham for...
I just want to make sure there's no other questions on this before we move on to other points. None? All right. Shoot.
Less than an hour ago, College Court residents announced that they're suing Hackham for uninhabitable living conditions, and they say Hackham and its leadership failed to fix certain issues like bed bugs and rat infestation. So what's your response to that?
My response to that is this, that I understand that there's the lawsuit that's there. We'll let that system play itself out, that process play itself out in court. I can tell you from my perspective, I mean, we've worked with individuals, with organizations, with residents that wanted to have more enforcement from the city. When we found that we had the ability to have the Department of Neighborhood Services to go in and to inspect units, I said, yes, let's use my executive authority, and that's exactly what we did and allowed for that to happen. We've supported the Housing Authority in a number of other ways. Chief among them right now is my responsibility as mayor statutorily. I've got to make appointments to the Housing Authority Board to have proper oversight of that agency. I have made appointments to the Housing Authority Board. I have done that. That's my statutory obligation. Now, those qualified individuals are sitting over at the Common Council. So my ask right now, in order to move this forward, to find solutions, and that's what we want to be, solution-oriented, my ask is for the Common Council to take up my appointees and confirm them so that we can move forward with issues at the Housing Authority.
Do you think the Milwaukee is still capable of addressing this issue?
I think that we're moving forward in a positive way over at the Housing Authority, yes. But again, chief among our responsibilities at the city level is for the mayor to make appointments to the Housing Authority Board, which I have, and for the Common Council to confirm or take up those appointments, which has not yet happened. So what my request is to the Common Council is to take up my appointees that I've appointed to the board and confirm those individuals so they can serve and be solutions oriented as it relates to the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee.
Why the urgency now when those seats were sitting vacant for so long?
Well, I will tell you this, that when I was elected mayor in 2022, I actually made not one, not two, not three, but 4 appointments to the Housing Authority Board. I appointed 4 positions there. Unfortunately, because of some state law that we're seeking to have amended, some of those individuals had to come off. Since then, we've worked to find individuals who would have interest in going onto the Housing Authority Board. Again, I have made those appointments. They are sitting at the Common Council right now. I want the council to confirm those individuals so that we can be solutions oriented as it relates to Hackham. But I think that folks need to also understand, again, let me just repeat, that in the first full year that I was mayor, I made 4 appointments to the Housing Authority Board of Directors. 4. And that's part of the discussion that is not talked about. I think it's important to recognize that too.
Residents are accusing you of protecting the
I think that residents are not necessarily doing that. I think that there are certain organizations that are suggesting that, and I think that they're Trumpian really in some of their responses to that. I mean, I saw the recent letter from Common Ground saying that, oh, Johnson is trying to, protect, Willie Hines. He is looking out for his pension or whatnot. That, I don't know how old Willie Hines is or when he's going to retire or anything like. That is silly, and I think it's Trumpian, just throwing things at the wall, no matter if they're true or not, just to see what sticks. That, unfortunately, is just not true. It's just not true.
School starting next week.
Yep.
Obviously, you worked hard to get a deal with the state legislature for sales tax, and part of that was, of course, to have school resource officers in MPS classrooms. That hasn't happened. It doesn't sound like it's imminent. Where do you stand on that? Do you think that MPS should hold up their part of this?
I absolutely think that MPS should hold up their end of the bargain on this. Look, before I was even elected mayor, when I was still a member of the Milwaukee Common Council, I said that I thought that the school board went a little too far with terminating the relationship that it had with Milwaukee police, especially considering the fact that in my old aldermanic district, the 2nd district on the northwest side, I mean, I personally lived right around the corner from Marshall High School. I could see Marshall High School from my house. And I would talk to my constituents, the folks who live on the other side of the block from me, and they would tell me these stories about, people getting on the sidewalk, mounting the curb, and driving recklessly on the school grounds, even driving towards kids. I would rather, and I think that constituents would rather, that the police are there. And they can easily be accessible for the schools to address things when they're likely to pop off. Usually that's sometime after school. So I said that they went too far years ago before I was even elected mayor. I continue to believe that now. The city has done tremendous work. I mean, as you mentioned in our dealings in Madison and since then, in order to make sure we're in a position to do this, yes, I want MPS to do its part to make sure that those officers are in place.
Is there anything you can do to twist their arm?
Well, I mean, they've had a lot of changes over at Milwaukee Public Schools, and more changes that'll come. I mean, I continue to have conversations with Milwaukee Public Schools, and they know that I'm interested in seeing this happen. And I think, by the way, it's not just me; it's residents in the neighborhoods too that don't want to have fights, falling off the school grounds and into their neighborhoods. They don't want to see people driving recklessly on the school grounds either, and having that police presence helps to mitigate those sort of things. So I want to see it happen. I think my constituents want to see it happen too, and I think that MPS ought to do its part to make sure it does happen.
Anybody? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.